It started with a phone call I wasn't supposed to get. My sister's husband never calls me unless something's wrong, and this time he wasn't calm. His voice shook as he said her name, and the words head trauma and HOA didn't belong in the same sentence. I drove 90 minutes through Northern Virginia traffic and pulled up to the gates of Maple Ridge Estates just as the sun cut through the fog like a blade. A security guard stepped out of his booth with clipboard in hand, but I didn't give him a chance to speak. "She lives here," I said, tapping my ID against the glass. "Anna Quinn, my sister." His eyes dropped to the badge. U.S. Department of Justice. He waved me in without another word. At the end of the cul-de-sac, my brother-in-law stood on the lawn, arms crossed, jaw tight. The moment I opened my car door, I saw it. The car door, blood smeared just above the handle, a bruise-shaped dent, and Anna sitting on the porch with gauze taped to her temple. Carolyn Hale, the HOA vice president, stood by the curb with her arms folded like a warden. She refused to comply with a direct community safety order. Carolyn announced to no one in particular, "You can't freeze in the road like that. Cars come through." She was having a seizure, Aura. I shot back. "You slammed her head into a vehicle." "I intervened," she said smugly. "And we've already issued the violation." I pulled out my phone. "Interesting, because I'm currently drafting a preliminary civil complaint. If your private security contractor filed a false report, you're looking at federal exposure." Her lips parted. No words came out. I walked up the steps to my sister, knelt down, and whispered, "It's handled now." She nodded slowly, unfocused. Her hair was still matted with blood, and she looked smaller than I remembered. A pattern of harassment. People mistake calm for weakness. I'm not a screamer. I don't threaten. But I've spent 15 years in federal courtrooms staring down corporate attorneys who bury evidence under NDAs. Carolyn Hale was just another arrogant gatekeeper who'd never been challenged by someone fluent in the law. "My name is Marcus Quinn. My sister Anna has lived here for 4 years without incident, until last week when she missed a step during an HOA-mandated garden inspection. Carolyn left a fine taped to her garage door. That bench in the community garden, the one with the iron backrest and the plaque reading for Mr. Lyle, who fought for access. Anna paid for half of it in honor of her late neighbor, a disabled vet who couldn't attend board meetings without that ramp. Now she was being punished for freezing mid-walk during a neurological episode. They called it erratic behavior. Carolyn called it noncompliance. But here's what she didn't know. The ER report was filed, the paint on the car already matched for repair, and the HOA security system? It wasn't as off the grid as Carolyn thought. Last quarter, the subcontractor handling their surveillance missed a license renewal, which means their footage isn't just inadmissible, it's legally non-existent. That puts the burden of proof on her. Pulling threads. I stayed the night, not because Anna asked me to. She didn't say much at all, but because her silence said everything. By morning, I had her violation notices laid out across the kitchen island, stacked chronologically. They told a story Carolyn probably thought was buried in red tape. $50 for weeds, $100 for improper trash can. Storage, $250 for a wind chime audible from the street. The last one cited loitering near a fire hydrant. That was the day Anna got dizzy and sat down on the curb. None of the violations matched. Board meetings. No appeals logged. No photos. Just declarations. I cross-referenced the HOA bylaws Anna had downloaded 6 months ago with state code enforcement. It was all performative. Control. Nothing enforceable unless no one pushed back. By noon, I was walking through Maple Ridge with a clipboard, calm and steady. Curtains twitched. A garage door closed. At the park, 2 women with strollers hesitated when they saw me. "Marcus Quinn," I said. "Anna's brother." "She's the one Carolyn's targeting, isn't she?" one asked. "She's the one Carolyn assaulted." I corrected. They shared their own stories. Sidewalk chalk labeled graffiti. A violation notice taped to a child's birthday bag. By the time I circled back to the house, I had 9 accounts of quiet harassment and petty citations. The wall of compliance Carolyn built was cracking from the inside. The security guard. That evening, I sat on the bench near the garden, the one Anna used to share with Mr. Lyle. From there, I could see the path where Anna had frozen and the pole where the nearest camera hung, still blinking red, still offline. Across the walkway, the same security guard, David Lane, stood outside the clubhouse. He wasn't supposed to be there that night. Patrols were shifted to Fridays and Sundays. Yet there he was, staring at a building dark for 3 days. I walked over. Long shift. I asked. Double coverage, he shrugged. Funny. HOA said you guys were cutting back shifts. Silence. His eyes flicked toward the office window. His jaw clenched. I could see the debate behind his silence. You were working the morning Anna was hurt, I said. He paused, then, I log my patrols. That's all I can say. Look, David, I kept my voice low. You're subcontracted. If they told you to break policy or shut off systems, that's on them, not you. He exhaled, frustration, not relief. You think I don't know that? He muttered. Bingo. I didn't press. Silence does the work. Escalation. The next morning, Anna's violation paperwork had been updated online, sharper language, citing community endangerment and failure to respond to HOA directives. They were trying to cement her as the problem before anyone could ask why the cameras still weren't operational. I drove to the outer perimeter, parked near the maintenance shed. From there, I could see the spot where Anna had frozen. A week ago it had been a regular sidewalk. Now bright cones and a fire lane. Carolyn marked it as restricted access. The bylaws had no such designation. I photographed everything, logged timestamps, compared it to older Google Street View. They weren't just covering their tracks. They were rewriting the story in real time. Back at the house, Anna's husband John showed me an HOA newsletter bragging about the new camera system with board-level override capability. The subcontractor's license had expired last quarter. Any video evidence would be inadmissible. Even better, it made the HOA's entire enforcement mechanism a liability. The breaking point. That afternoon, a flatbed truck with city markings pulled up to Anna's house, accompanied by Carolyn's silver Lexus and 2 clipboard-wielding men in utility vests. They had a printed emergency access order and a rolled-up no parking sign. They were about to tow Anna's car from her own driveway. I walked past Carolyn's smug grin to the younger worker. Let me guess, I said. This driveway violates a new fire lane designation. We were told it was blocking regulated access, he said, sweating. By whom? The HOA liaison. We have a work order. Do you have a permit? Because as of this morning, this address isn't zoned for an emergency lane. That curb's been unmodified since 2004. He blinked. I just work dispatch, man. Then maybe don't let someone without municipal authority falsify your job orders. I turned to Carolyn. You tried to fabricate city authorization. That's obstruction. Her jaw tightened. The workers packed up and left. No tow. No sign. It was time to commit fully. The case. That evening, I sat with John and Anna. Once I submit this complaint to the DOJ, it becomes real. Investigators may reach out. Carolyn will find out. I warned. John nodded. We're in. Anna whispered, do it. I added a summary detailing how Maple Ridge's enforcement structure violated Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, and possibly the ADA. It wasn't just about Carolyn anymore. It was about how HOAs weaponize ambiguity and fear. When I hit submit, the confirmation screen locked in. Case file assigned. Intake processing scheduled. The vote. Over the next week. I gathered signatures for a petition to remove Carolyn Hale from her HOA role. Mrs. Branson, a retired school principal and former board secretary, signed first. "La would have been proud of you," she said. By day 3, I had 19 signatures, 7 more than required. Meanwhile, my DOJ colleague flagged the case as a possible civil rights violation. The ground was shifting. On Sunday evening, residents packed the clubhouse. Carolyn stood behind a folding table, arms crossed. I placed the petition in front of her. "Tonight's not about grudges," I said. "It's about process and accountability." The treasurer, Alan Price, cleared his throat. "I checked with the city this morning. There is no emergency vehicle access designation on file for this street. That fire lane sign was unauthorized." Murmurs rippled through the room. Carolyn opened her mouth, closed it. Mrs. Branson stood, cane in one hand, bulletin in the other. "I remember when this community used to hold actual board meetings," she said. "Votes were counted, not threatened into silence." The votes were gathered quickly. Alan read the tally aloud, 24 in favor of removal, 4 abstained, 1 opposed, Carolyn's. "Effective immediately," he said, "Carolyn Hale is removed from her role as vice president of the Maple Ridge HOA. All enforcement actions are suspended pending a legal audit. The room exhaled. Closure. By Monday morning, Maple Ridge felt different. The surveillance cameras blinked. People walked their dogs without glancing over their shoulders. At noon, a secondary meeting was held, not for confrontation but for reform. The board rescinded unsupported violations, opened nominations for new positions, and promised a public apology. Anna didn't attend. She didn't need to. She received the letter later that day. Printed on HOA letterhead, signed by the full board, it acknowledged misuse of authority, manipulation of policy, and unauthorized deletion of surveillance records. It didn't use the word assault, but it did say, "We deeply regret the harm caused to Anna Quinn and her family. We failed to act as stewards of this community, and we accept full responsibility." That afternoon, Anna stepped outside alone, hoodie down, bruises faded. She walked slowly but without fear to the mailbox, then to the garden bench. The orange paint of the fabricated fire lane was gone, scrubbed away. I sat beside her. "Officially removed," I said. She nodded. Her eyes wandered over the path. The same neighborhood. But it felt different, like a place waking up after a long, unpleasant dream. I stood to leave. "There's nothing left for me to fix," I said. That wasn't defeat. It was closure. As I drove out, through the gate, the guard waved me through, not out of fear, but respect. And this time, I didn't need a badge to belong.